Hello again. Welcome to the first in a series of videos I plan to put out re the Carnival Panorama. This was our first Transpacific cruise, an idea we picked up from watching YouTubers grounded live as a preferred way to travel between continents without having to put up with ensuing jet lag. We decided to fly in the day before embarkation and stayed in the Residence Inn at Long Beach downtown. At first, it seemed like a good idea, since the hotel was just a 10-minute ride away from the Carnival cruise terminal, but we found out afterwards that the Residence Inn doesn't offer a shuttle. So we booked an Uber the night before and also got to the front desk, just in case a driver doesn't get assigned to us. Anyhow, front desk was pretty confident that our Uber booking wouldn't be an issue. We had dinner at Fuego, a restaurant serving up Mexican dishes. Food prices in Los Angeles sure were expensive, but they make up for it with quality. Fuego had a wonderful smoky salsa dip, which was really good, and a steak quesadilla that we enjoyed so much, we ordered a second one. The next day, we could clearly see from our window that the Carnival Panorama had just berthed at the cruise terminal. We were assigned a driver about 1.5 hours prior to our pickup time, which was great, as we were wondering whether we would have to cancel and have the front desk book us a taxi. Traffic heading towards the cruise terminal was a little busy, but Alberto, our driver, obviously knew the routine pretty well. We were dropped off at the baggage collection area. There was no charge for having your baggage collected, but we were in the US, so you wouldn't feel right going off without tipping your baggage handler. Here's an important tip. Make sure you have your paper luggage tag stapled onto the luggage you intend to check in. Do this before you arrive at the cruise terminal. In our case, the Residence Inn front desk had a stapler handy for anyone to use. The Carnival Cruise Terminal was this huge dome-shaped building right next to the permanently docked Queen Mary II. Even though we picked a 1 p.m. slot for checking in, we found out upon arrival that they were going to check everybody in as they arrived. Here's another important tip. Make sure you have a paper copy of your boarding pass. The Carnival check-in staff will make highlights, markings, doodles, and all sorts of notations on your paper copy. We were a little worried at first when my Malaysian passport wouldn't scan, but it turned out every other non-US passport holder had issues with their passport being processed. After that, we went straight to guest services for them to put our credit card on file, as for some reason, we had an issue doing this on the Carnival's website. I'll admit that by the time we got on board, we were quite flustered. All this was very new to us, and it just seemed chaotic. We did not know where to go, the cabins were only available from 1:30 p.m. onwards. Lido Marketplace, the ship's buffet-style cafeteria, was packed, and every table in it was taken up. So we hung out on the Lido deck for a bit, trying, unsuccessfully, to figure out how to access the internet plan we had paid for. We eventually made our way towards our cabin in the Havana deck to find an envelope stuck outside our door. This envelope contained our all-important sail and sign cards. In trying to connect to the ship's app earlier, we were confused as to what a folio number was, and this was what it was. Without our sail and sign cards, we would not have been able to access the internet or our cabin, nor purchase anything else. Anyway, we turned off our access to the world, very important if you do not want to be charged by your telco when at sea, put in the required information, and finally managed to get connected. Our cabin was an interior cabin of the Havana deck. Its style was very different from the other rooms in the rest of the ship, with dark wood side tables and tropical motif blankets. We were provided a top sheet on which we could unpack our luggage and put our stuff away. Beneath the bed was enough space to slide standard-sized luggage in. Shelf space in the closet was sufficient, and we were given more hangers than a standard hotel room would provide. The bathroom was very practical, with very good ventilation and plenty of shelves to put your toiletries on. The brand supplying the soap, shampoo and gels was Elemis. The shower even had a clothesline to hang dry your swimming wear, and it works very well. There were even clear temperature markers to customize the water temperature for your shower. My favorite part was the toilet. The flush worked just like on an airplane. We had pre-purchased bottles of drinking water prior to getting on the ship, since it would have been costlier to buy them afterwards. This is your first idea of how everything on a cruise gets charged a premium. In addition to that, they also charge you a delivery fee for the convenience of sending it to your cabin. So maybe at this point, ask yourself if you're willing to put up with the hassle of carrying a whole case of water through the long check-in process. The fridge was nice and cold, and we used it to store excess beer from belly buckets and unfinished coffee. You can place whatever else in these open drawers next to the fridge, whether it's ramen noodle cups or excess annoying pillows. The desk space was big enough to place and charge all your gadgets, and it will literally be a squeeze to work your laptop on it. But I have tried it, and I was able to knock out a few solid hours each time, including a very important import confirmation for Japan, which I'll talk about in another video. Did I mention that the walls are magnetic? I'm not sure if this was on purpose or whether it's just the way ships were made, but from other YouTubers and Amazon reviews, we also got ourselves a pack of magnetic hooks, the kinds that shouldn't get confiscated, though depending on what you're hanging, you may have to use more than one. We ended up using the hooks to hang our multi-way socket across the room. We were a little concerned whether the ship might confiscate our multi-way socket, as they would have made it difficult to plug in Chip's CPAP machine with the Malaysian plug, but nothing was ever said to us about it. TV channels on the ship were limited, which is understandable since you're on a cruise and ought to be out there enjoying the ship. If you're thinking of connecting your HDMI cable to the TV, don't try. It's fixed too tightly to the wall. The two channels which we found important were the Cruise Live TV, which would play the morning shows hosted by the cruise director, replay important shows like the Debug Talk, and the Map channel, which told you where the ship was, its route, and most importantly, the temperature and ship date and time. This remote is not very good. After visiting the muster station to acknowledge that we do know how to put on a life jacket, we got ourselves some needed lunch and a needed beer, and then checked out the rest of the deck we were on. The Havana deck itself, including the sun deck, pool and jacuzzis, were exclusive to guests who were staying in Havana staterooms. While the Havana bar is accessible to all other guests, exit into the deck would have required this yellow wristband. Although, I did see some Asian aunties stray into the deck to take some selfies. As our welcome letter promised, evening entertainment at the Havana bar involved a very good live band playing song after song from the Latin American genre. Now, if you were a light sleeper and typically went to bed early, the bass drum and bass guitar would have been a bother. In our case, it became white noise by day 2, but it is something to note if you're going to be booking a cabin at the Havana deck. Also, something which we found out firsthand is that if you're booking any one of the cabins on the starboard side of the ship, there's no direct access to the deck except through the Havana bar, which would be awkward if you're trying to make your way through this crowd of dancers in your swimwear and bathroom robe. Speaking of dancers, here's some footage of the sailing off party on the Lido deck. Little did I know I would be seeing many of these unique individuals many times more on this big ship. While the crowd partied away, unbeknownst to them, it seemed like the ship was having trouble loading their supplies in time. This was probably one reason why we were late in sailing off. The other reason, as we found out from the announcements made by Andy, the cruise director, was that someone on board had needed medical attention.
Two hours later.
I had no idea it was this big.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I think because of the traffic, we're very late on.
Later that same evening.
Thankfully, we did sail off about 4 hours after scheduled time. By then, night had fallen. This is just to show you that Oppa, mine, Oppa. To be fair, I actually have all the space. I wish he would put his coats up so that I can use that chair.